Hey there. So, in the back of my trailer right now, I've got the makings of what's going to be a pretty cool project and something that I haven't done before, a bit of a departure, but I'm helping build a set for some friends of mine. Usually I'm one of the guys on the stage. I don't usually get involved backstage too much because I'm performing. The irony in this is that everything that I do when I'm not performing lends itself to what is needed for this job right here. Stick around and I'll let you know what I'm talking about. Buckle up your seat as I give you a day in the life of facilities maintenance. Hi there. Well, today is the day and I'm on my way to start working on this project. If I were to describe it to you, what I'm building is a collapsible floor that articulates on an axis that has counterweight on the backside so that you can control the descent of the collapsing floor. Makes sense, right? The play is called The Play That Goes Wrong. Part of the premise of this play, what it is a theater group putting on a murder mystery production. It's really a play within a play, and everything that can go wrong does go wrong on the set while they're trying to put on this performance. And so the whole set is booby-trapped, for lack of a better description, but in a controlled way that's supposed to look unintentional to the audience. And I am a piece of the puzzle. I'm building the metal framework that's going to become a platform floor that will collapse. So it has to be strong, which is why we're making it out of steel. We didn't invent the concept. There are many other theater productions that have also done this. They put out a call for help for somebody who could weld. And it's a theater company that I've worked with before. I played Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof for them a decade ago. So anyway, I wasn't able to be in the production on stage in this one, but that doesn't mean that I can't use these other skills that I have to help out. And as I assemble it, I'm also going to have to be intentional about which direction things are pointing, whether it's upside down or right side up. Because I have to be able to load this back onto my trailer by myself. Right now it's just in pieces in the back of the trailer. So we do have a gantry in the shop. And so if I build it in the right orientation, I should be able to just pick it up with the gantry, roll my trailer underneath, and then set it down. So my goal today, get this thing built and don't bleed. When I know I'm going to be spending the better part of all day in a place, I like to start with a clean space. I drew these plans, and so pretty much the dimensions and measurements are in my head. But I thought I'd grab them anyway from my office just to have them to reference to, because as can happen when you're trying to hold a bunch of things in your head, some of them fall out. Essentially, this is what I'm building. I'm building a platform. I do need a lot of space for layout. These lengths are 10 feet. This is just under 4 feet. This is my pivoting axis along here. And this floor will do that. And then on the back side of this is a side profile here. There will be counterweights hanging off of here. One of the tricks I'm gonna have to figure out today is how to actually hang these counterweights. I've already run into a little bit of a problem. Often when this has been done before, they've used like barbell weights, 45 pounders. You can just hang them off a single post. They didn't use that here. These weights are, I think they're from a fly gallery in a theater. That's what they look like to me. And they are slotted, and they are 1-inch slots. So that's one of them there. I measured it. It is a 1-inch slot, but it's a very tight 1 inch. And I've got some 1-inch Schedule 40 pipe that I was going to use to suspend the plates on, so they'd be able to hang a whole bunch of these onto the back of here. The problem is that's a very tight 1 inch, and this is a chubby 1 inch. This is not a reference to Hedwig and the Angry Inch, but it will need some work. A couple of other things. This platform needs to be dead level. Problem is that this floor is not level at all. So I will shim this as required to get that dead level. I will then level that so it is dead level. And then I can lay my 10 footers across that, and that should give me a perfectly flat plane. And that's enough talking for now.
Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headaches stack. Restlessness to hell and back. What's my purpose? What do I grab? A slippery surface, a heart attack. And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief.
All right, these are now level relative to each other. And you can see how much I had to raise these up to get them to be level.
But maybe there's magic, believe you could have it. And I know of sadness, the anxious and panic, the infinite vastness of all that is blackness.
Okay, this has taken over an hour to create a level base to build off of and to get this thing squared up and tacked so that I can now weld it together. And even though this is 5 simple straight pieces, this will probably be the longest that I have to spend on anything, because everything else now is just building off of this, which will be fairly straightforward. Fortunately, at this point, it's still not so heavy that I can't lift it and move it myself. Before I grind off these welds flat with a grinder, let me show you them. The reason I want to grind them flat with the grinder is because this is all going to be clad. I'm also dressing all these sharp edges here too, so nobody cuts themselves on anything here. But I'm really quite pleased with these welds. So I think we are gonna have a pretty strong platform when all is said and done. Actually, now I gotta think about how I'm gonna put this thing together in order to facilitate transporting it out of here, which way it's facing, orientation, whatnot. Okay, I'm sure it doesn't look very different, but it sits there now. The gantry is up there, so when it comes time to pick it up, that'll be available to me. I'm going to build my counterweight off of this end, because when it goes back into my trailer, I want that upright part to be at the nose of my trailer. So, because I now have a true surface, right? This way, I've got great contact at all points there. This way as well. I am going to build my counterweight section right on top of that. I'm going to use this as my layout surface, and that will ensure that the next section that I build will be nice and flat. When you work with power tools or when you work with steel, you get in the habit of not reaching out and grabbing things. Rather, you step back and let it go, because it could be really hot, or it could be really sharp, or it could cut your fingers off. This is what it is to work by yourself. Making these cuts for these support brackets here, I have to do 3 of them. They are going to be pretty much my only waste in this whole thing. It's been nice to have all my pieces pre-cut to length. I had the steel supply place do that for me, just to minimize the amount of cutting that I'd have to do here, because that can take up a lot of time. Gonna have to clear one of these benches, because I don't want to do this on the floor. Whoops, almost forgot. Grinding burns holes in my clothes.
I feel so claustrophobic like this.
I said, I feel so claustrophobic like that. Okay, I have one piece cut, and this one now will be my template for the other 2 pieces. Let's see how it fits. Okay, it's pretty awesome, actually. So that will provide tons of strength for this counterweight piece, and it won't interfere at all with where my pivot point needs to be. But before I get too far ahead of myself and start welding this into position, I need to use this piece to trace my angles onto the other 2 pieces. So I'm welding away, thinking to myself, yeah, this is all looking pretty good. And then I realize I'm not building a ship here. These things do not have to be watertight or airtight. This 2-inch stitch here and welded at the top is plenty of strength. In fact, this whole counterweight section is way stronger than it needs to be. It just needs to have weights hung off of it, and I could have trimmed it down. I originally started with 5 10-foot pieces, and it was quite heavy and quite expensive, and so I trimmed it down to 3. That'll be plenty strong. I could have trimmed this down even more to just a framework like that, but it also needs to provide counterweight. And so making it heavy in and of itself without extra weights hung on there will help. And if you have no idea what I'm referring to yet, on this next step, you will, because I'm gonna put the pivot axle on there right now. I've just put in a plate, and now I'm gonna put this bar in, but the bar won't be fixed to this. Here's a side view of what I'm working on right now. So what I've got here are pillow bearings, and I'm gonna be bolting them to that plate right there. The reason I put them on the plate, I could have welded them straight to or bolted them straight to the actual framework itself. But I don't know, I wanted to spread the load out just a little bit. When I was asked to make it lighter, I knew for sure that I wanted to keep this 6-inch plate in here because all of the load of the whole floor and the platform, and there's gonna be 3/4 inch plywood on top of this, and there's gonna be set pieces on top of this, and there's gonna be 4 people on top of this. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's gonna be 3/4 inch plywood cladding this whole thing. They're gonna be set pieces, and they're gonna be 4 people. So this thing has to be able to support 1,000 pounds in addition to what it already weighs itself. Even though it's gonna be pivoting on a 1-inch solid rod right here, this is gonna help pick up the load and distribute that over a little bit of a wider area. Just makes sense to me in my head. I think it'll be stronger and safer that way. So at this point, while I will measure from the end of the deck to the actual pivot itself to that steel rod, just to make sure that I'm exactly equidistant on either side, I have to let the actual bar itself find center, the true position for me. And you can see that as much as my OCD brain would love that to be perpendicular, it can't be. This is how it turns in there. You can also see this part of the bearing here. It's obviously thicker in places than others because you can see how it's thicker there and thinner there. But at the end of the day, it spins nice and smoothly. A small detail, I'm putting the grease nipple on the back side of the wall so it's accessible from backstage. I don't think I can weld this stuff though. It's cast, so it won't take a weld very well, most likely. But for something like this, I would prefer to bolt it. I think that would actually be stronger. My pillow bearings are mounted. As I was saying, they're not a high quality bearing. The bearings are aligned so that they're exactly perpendicular to the end of my platform here. It looks crooked because it is, but that's because the bearing inside the housing isn't exactly aligned with the housing. They're offshore made. They are not as good a quality. The tolerances aren't as good as if it was, say, Canadian made or American made or German made or Norwegian made, Swedish made, pretty much anything else made, but they will do the job. I use the bar itself to align things so they are true to the bar and the bar turns. I will say there is a little bit more friction now though that I've tightened them down, because in addition to being slightly crooked this way, actually this way, when I tightened them down, it did rock a little bit too on this side. So I am not going to take the time to try and guess at truing that up and flattening out on the bottom. It works. It'll do the job for this just fine. And so that is mounted. I imagine it's kind of hard to picture this whole thing now because it is upside down. So let me take you back to the drawing. This is how it will look when it is right side up. So the bearing that I was just talking about and that pivot rod is up here. So this will be running through a wall that sits here. And this part of the platform will hinge down. This is where all the counterweight is. This will hinge up as this part drops down. This will give you a good illustration of what it will do. It will hinge like this on the pivot point. The challenge I'm facing now is, this is one of the weights that they want to put on here. I don't know how much it weighs. I'm going to guess it's at least 60 pounds. It's pretty heavy. And I don't know how many they have. So I'm really kind of guessing as to what I need to put on this apparatus in order to hang these weights. I think I'm going to take 2 posts. I'll weld one here and one here for one set, another pair here and another pair over here, and that'll allow them to hang 1, 2, 3. I don't know if they're all configured like this. Somebody said something about maybe 2 different types of weights. And so chances are, after I get this over to where they're building the rest of the set and they start putting things together, I may have to go back to the actual set with my portable welder and make a few modifications. You may notice that right there, and one on the other side as well. I'll tell you what that is. Oh, hey, I put it on the outside and I drew it on the inside. I can just erase this and draw it over here. But what this is this whole thing, when it pivots, this part will be swinging in an arc here. So Andrew, the other set builder, he's going to be making kind of almost like a skateboard ramp, and it'll have slots in it. And this bar can be lifted up, it can be swung back and dropped into another slot here, another slot here, another slot here for a full collapse. And so that's what this is. That bar there, it's longer than the one that I had before that I was fitting the bearings with. It will just rest in this cradle, these cradles on either side, and when they need to make a move, they just pick it up and let the whole stage collapse until they drop it into the next slot. And I'm pretty sure that explanation probably makes no sense. You probably can't tell from the picture, but this is a thinner material than that 1-inch bar that's laying on the ground there, because that 1-inch pipe there has a larger diameter than that 1-inch solid rod. And that is messing me up here. I tried to massage this thing, not this one. This one. I tried to take some material off, hoping that I could get it narrow enough to slide in between this 1-inch gap here. And it was just taking way too long, and I thought, I can't do this for 6 of these things. And so I dug around, I found some 3/4 inch, and I will just trade up some 1-inch pipe for some 3/4 inch and leave that behind when I leave here. Okay, again, while upside down, you get the idea. This is how the weight is gonna hang off this counterweight section. I'm gonna put one more set in the middle, These are 2 inches thick. I made my rods 10¼ inches. Therefore, if these are 50 pounds each, they can load up each section with 250 pounds for a 750 pound total. Again, I don't know how much weight they have, but this should get them started. Now comes the challenge of trying to load this thing onto my trailer by myself.
To say that loading a big, heavy, awkward piece by yourself in a crowded space is frustrating as an understatement would be an understatement.
Because the balance point of this whole thing is at the pivoting axis, and the pivoting axis is 8 feet away from the back of the project, and I don't have 8 feet of room between the gantry and the back wall, I don't really have the space to position it like I need to.
I'll need to tie this down.
But I do have to open the door higher. Well, if you stuck around to the end, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. This was a long episode to say the least. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time, and have a great day. Well, I'm happy to say that it came off without a hitch. My steel framework and counterweight exists underneath that platform that you see right there, and it collapsed beautifully. The play was hilarious. I recommend going to see it if it ever comes through your town. It's called The Play That Goes Wrong. And let me take you backstage and see if you can recognize what you're looking at here. This is the counterweight section. You can see where I hung the weights off the bottom of the counterweight, and you can see the half-pipe ramp design that the bottom of the counterweight engages with to control the angle of the floor. So this is your behind-the-scenes look at the magic of theater.